Okay, let's begin. So the bottom of page Reish Zayin, in this incredible beard of K'may Ponim Al Ponim Leiv, Kein Leiv Adam La Adam, Ela Adam. That the rotzoi has to be, in other words, your Metzias has to be the Metzias as it really is. And that's a Metzias that of Halas Man Minei Ubei. That's why you have a Metzias. And the Halas Man is a relationship with you as a Metzias, the Mata, and that has to be the nature of the rotzoi. And then, obviously, together with that comes the shuv, because in the Ma'amel Yonim, the Adam HaTachten is present there, the Adam HaTachten, as I said before, all the way down, Mamash Shir Atzim B'Koyach, everything down to Elam Hazeh Gashmi, and not also, but Dafke. So for there shall be given Dafke Nichnas B'Shalom V'Yotze B'Shalom. So this is the diak. The shaila was they all went in the same way. It's how they came out. The answer is no. The fundamental difference is the nichnas. Like explains in the Ma'amar, that his rotzoi was also whole. What does it mean that it was whole? In the rotzoi itself, integral to it is the shuv, and that's how the shuv actually happened, because the whole rotzoi is mitzad the elyon, the kavon elyon, which is in the tachten. Yesh lahisif badik the shalom dafke. Now, there are many ways that this could be expressed, that he went in with the proper kavona. Why do we use the word shalom? Because shalom in yoneh chibush tekzovis, the idea of peace is the idea of fusing two things that are extreme. If they're already, you don't need shalom when things are naturally harmonious. You need shalom when they're not. So that's the inyan here. So the true inyan of shalom is when it's extreme. The lowest are the elyon, to the highest extreme. Then he adds in brackets, and true shalom extends even beyond the edge, the upper edge and the lower edge. It means bligvul mamish and hardcore tachten elam hazeh gashmi. And that's what shalom is. And moreover, as the Gemara says, v'shalom b'kli b'chas shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And shalom is, the Gemara says at the end of Masechet Uktzin, they said the whole Shas ends. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kli machzik shalom el ha-bracha. They didn't find any keli that contains his bracha other than shalom. There's many the kiburim of the Rebbe on that Gemara. Like Motzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God didn't find. What does it mean God didn't find? Was he searching and then he didn't? The whole language is very strange. That's all part of it, because le'motzah means mitzad ishtalshelus. Mitzad ishtalshelus taka not benimtze, to be able to fuse opposites. Ishtalshelus is all about elyon and tachten, and so it shall remain. But shalom is the kli that's machzik birchose bracha. What's bracha? What bracha we speaking about? Birchose shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu bracha daike. Damshach lamata shinyon damshach lamayda lamata. We're drawing and fusing the upper and the lower. Zeh gufa, and this is already that I was giving earlier a segue, as it were, into the next maamar of this Fabrengen, the second maamar, right here. Zeh gufa lemas begina bracha belvad, and it's not just enough to bracha letzarich lis kaman yes amen. It has to be the answering of amen, which the next maamar explains at length. K'maamar as al god lein amen yosem and amavarich. Great is the one that said amen. Says amen, then the one actually makes the bracha teida. You should know, says the Gemara, Acharei gulyardin Chalosh, the weaker ones, Misgad, and they agitate the Milchama. The Giberim, it's the powerful ones that actually effect the victory. And that means that the Bracha itself, as meritic as it is, it's Amshachet from the highest places, but in the beginning. Then has to be the victory through the Giberim. Let's mean this on Nitzachim. Can Baruch Ban Bottom Mailula. As explains at length, the Gani being mid the Netzach. With respect to the mid of Netzach of victory. In order to achieve the victory, they open, they give these precious treasures of the kings, of his treasures, and the treasures amassed by his forebearers. They were hidden and sealed from the eye of any viewer. And now they are squandered in order to bring about the victory. Where is this happening? As he said before, in the Ktsei, the lowest Ktsei, and below the Ktsei, below the edge, where there is a menagid. In other words, he seems to be hinting that the lowest place is Hel and Behester. But even lower than that is a menagid. That's even below the Ktsei. Right? That's the the opposition. It's one thing that godliness is concealed, another that is opposed. And perhaps even worse is ignored. So mata b'yosef adafka shom is galam hanyonim anaylim b'yosef is dafka down here the shalom that fuses these two, that nichnas b'shalom, there is megalen mamshich, the highest madregas to the very lowest. That's the deacon shalom, and that's the idea of the keli, which is shalom is the keli for b'chasa shakalish baruch, which includes also the amen. He explains now. So this was Dafka, but Rabbi Akiva Shom Chatim Magin. It's Avnei Shaish Torah Al Tim. Remind them, don't say when you get there to the Avnei Shaish Torah that there's Mayim, that what there's two realities, Hainish Indians and Nasa. Don't say that. But rather, the Tachten is impressioned in the alien in the deepest way already at the highest Madregas of the Mayim El Yonim. In other words, let's make this a little bit graphic. A person journeying in his rotzah milamata lamayla. This is what happens. What's the whole point of the rotzah? The point of the rotzah is to transcend the limits of the guf and nefesh bahamis, which conceal the likus, is on Yetzirah. And again, this is integral to every human being. This desire, this longing for transcendence. So he ascends. Yezdichn is the part of this, and what happens? The higher he goes, the less the hakbala. Part of this is the four elements. And even Atzilus. So there, the Atzilus, the Hakbala, the essence of Atzilus are bligvul. Then he comes to where? To the Avnei Shaish Toher, comes to the Tzimtzum, and peering, as it were, or even entering beyond the Tzimtzum. So what's the expectation now? The expectation now is the whole process is, and the whole objective is the divestiture of limitation, the greater and greater oir v'giloy and transcendence and pshitus. So here he has transcended Elam Atzilos, which is Poshet the Gabe Elam Biyah, and the highest still Lifnei Tzimtzum, the Avnei Shaish Toher, into the Oir Ein Sof. And what does he expect to find there? Absolute pshitus, divested of any kind of tzir. What's the big news? And what does he see? He sees himself. In the pshitus of the Mayim El Yonim, he sees, and he says in the Dik and the Mayim, every prat of himself. Because that's the kavana, the halos mineu bei in atzmusa yisborech, that the whole kavana of all of the oiris and giluyim and ishtalshalus and lifnei ishtalshalus is because they should desire the relationship with you lamato in a guf gashmi with every struggle that you face. Dafka there. It's a shock. Now these chevre never saw it. They never saw it. They got lost in the pshitus of the Mayim Elyonim. They didn't see the Ola b'machshava. They didn't see the halos maminei obey. Because the only way to see that, that's what Rabbi Kiva is saying, Nichlas b'sholem, is when your whole metzias, your rotzi, to begin with, is mitzad the rotzi and the elyon. If your rotzi is mitzad the rotzi and the elyon, then you'll touch the rotzi and the elyon. And lo and behold, when you're going to see, that's you. But if the rotzi is not mitzad the rotzi and the elyon, but my desire to divest, strip away and transcend and go beyond and shed the limitations that contain me and the likus, and experience a sublime purity and transcendent likus, then you're not going to touch the rots and the pnimis dika rots and the alien, wherein who's there, the ponim and the whole tzir of the Admo Tachton. Clear?
I want to translate it into dollars and cents, meaning that if the guy goes on a trip and it's all about him, then what's the result? It will remain with what? He'll remain with the Ratzu and he'll become ice, correct? And if he goes about the Kavanah, then he won't reach what he thought was high, but he'll reach what the Eibusher's height is, which is Shuv, which is Torah Mitzvahs. In other words, even though he's not going to experience it begilui, the Eibusher's Kavanah, Schar Mitzvah, he's going to reach it. He's going to reach the Kavanah. So basically, what you're saying, I just want to understand: is the Ratzu self-serving to a certain extent if it's not that Mitzvah Shuv, and the Shuv is not fulfilling? It's only fulfilling because we have an understanding that the Shuv is the purpose. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
To translate this in the one of the endless expressions of this, Bocher, or anyone, a person becomes about Shuv in a relationship, a husband or a wife. And obviously, I've seen this over the years. Or a Bocher, a family, whatever it is, but he's in a family. And he becomes or she becomes a big chassid. The measure. So what's the big fear? What's the big fear? The big fear and the resistance of the family is that the person becomes distant and removed, entering into this holy world of holiness on a very simple level. There's things they can't do and so on. All of these restrictions, but they just become removed, detached, become distant. So the emphasis is, what's the measure of the whole chassidus? That they see that the bigger the chassid he or she becomes, the more connected, the more engaged, the more empathetic, the more part of their world, truly the person becomes. Okay, he's keeping Shabbos, he's not going with them on a Saturday picnic. But if they will feel the emes, that when he's with them, and in every possible engagement that he seeks to be, he's there in a way that he was never so present, then Kain Leva Adam La Adam. I'm just telling you, this is the Metzius. The same model works again. Their hearts melt and will respond back to this love back. But if he comes back holier and detached, and chas v'sholem, there's a sense of superiority and arrogance, then we even speak about that, but that's obviously also an inherent danger. Righteous indignation. How could you do this? If he doesn't say it, it's in his gestures, it's in his eyes. And that's a rotze without a shuv. It's not the kavan. If they see you more present, as a result, more chassidus, he learns the frummer, quote unquote, he becomes the more the emes present on a level of engagement and empathy and involvement that is they've never seen before. Then the response is, we want more of this. Hey, where did you learn to be like this? I want to be like this too. Or, you keep on going. We encourage this. Look what a husband he became, a wife, a brother, a friend, a father, a mother. Now forgive the frumkeit elements. Huh? Would you say?
Yashakayach for bringing it into an example. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's conclude the Ois of Indian. Yeah, we just said that. Yeah. Ois So one of the shadows was, what is it? The repetition. It said they died and again vayamusu. So they entered into the inner chamber. That's what we're talking about now. Rotzoi. Nichnas leparadis. It's explained in Chassidus that their ava was their highest level of ava, the love of delights, which means that the essential love. That's the highest level. And when the questions of the Maimah was, they criticized, they praised, it's right, it's wrong, it's all confusing. So the answer is that ava betanugim, yeah. Because of this great Ava B'Tanugim, Moishe held that they were greater and more sanctified than him and Adam. So that part, Rotzi is good, but there's something is missing. On the Marotzi, the Toyo. The Rotzi was the Rotzi divested of Toyo, means divested of the Kalim component. It's Aliyah only. They don't sense the Shuv. They entered they entered inwards without any thought of the Yitzia, of the exit, as it were, the descent. Vahaini spells it out now. The Rotzei was their desire. And what's their desire? Their desire is to transcend the limits. As explains in Tanya, that even a tzaddik gomor who loves the Eibishter with the highest level of avar yodova b'fnei atzmoi, he's still an entity. Yesh misha oyev, there's someone who loves. But what kind of yeshes is it? Elishinin hayeshes orak kefisha shaykh be'avar b'tanugim. So what kind of yeshes is yesh misha oyev? It's there's the one who loves. But this is a love of Tanugim, and it's tremendous bittul. And what is that bittul? So he's in the water, created by the water, but it's a creation. It's not the water. It's still him. It's like the fish. And it's tremendous bittul. And it's not chayt, it's a kodam shibben gamliel when it comes to tefillah. But at the end of the day, it's still him. But here in the Mayim, there's another entity. So this was their tremendous madrege, but still the chsor. They drew near to the Eibishter v'yamusu. Shlei nirgash etzlam ha'inyan the kamayim upon him. They did not sense, and they did not touch Be'emes, the Rotz and the Elyon, where they would have seen themselves, or them, because we can use other phraseology, not phraseology, but other imagery, that they were there, but the eyes were closed. Such rapture, delight, the eyes were closed and didn't open, then to see that what Yod Seer is their lamata. They were there, but they didn't see it. They're so caught up in the eyes closed in the rapturous ecstasy of Kleis HaNefesh, that they didn't see that what's there in the Mayim Elyonim Pnimis HaKavana. So you, my child, the Matan Aguf, you're oblivious to it. Libay Lamaila, but it was missing the end of the Matan. When person David Gemara says his heart has to be heavenwards, but his eyes cast downwards, looking down. It's the Rotz and Shuv. Then was Libay Lamaila. So they didn't have this heritage of kamayim ponim aponim. She'ein kam b'tziyah shel yishavos klal. That in the mayim el yonim, your Metzias begins there not as something fundamentally separate. It doesn't start with your Metzias. It starts with the Rotz and the Elyon. That's all your Metzias is, because he wants you. The starting point is me. I want to be close to you. But what do we discover there? The whole I starts with him. He wants me to be close to him. And what does he want that closest? So they didn't have this heritage of the Mayim El Yoin to see the Ponim El Ponim. There's no Mitzvah is harvest at all. I feel like there's not even something the water produces, which is like an ilav olol and bottle, but still separate. Kiyim Mayim El Yoin Bilvad. They didn't see only the Mayim El Yoinim. And this is all of the reasons that are given in the Medrash. And the question was, why doesn't the Torah spell it out? Because the reasons given in the Medrash are there in the Via Musa. Because that, in other words, the pshat is, it's the karvosam that caused the Via Musa. The second Via Musa comes after the husband in the pasuk because of the kiruv of the kleis hanefesh. That's what caused it, not because they came close, they got struck down via Musa. The kirvosam caused the via Musa. And the Medrash just spells out all, as we're going to see now, all the expressions of this kirva, which is lacking the shuv. It's all consistent. What does it say over there in the Medrash? So what's in the Mayim El Yonim? The Mayim El Yonim is the tzir of the Adam de Lamata and all of his limitations. So how we mamshech that the Rotzana Elyon? What is the Rotzana Elyon? It happens to the Levushim of Torah mitzvahs. It's Torah mitzvahs down here, garments. There's no Levushim of Torah mitzvahs Lamaila. It's only down here. So that's one of the days in the Medrash they entered lacking the garments of the Kohen Gadol. What are the garments here? These are levushim, the garments, the external garments of Torah mitzvahs. Shloihu munachim being in Zen. Yiddish said, nicht gelegen in them. They weren't into the gashmisdike performance of the mitzvah. They were into the transcendence, the neshama. So they're missing the begodim, the levushim, which is Torah mitzvahs. Moreover, in the kiyum of Torah mitzvahs. So what's the point of kiyum of Torah mitzvahs? That's what draws down the Adam by Elyon. The matter that's not said the ischabros the guf and neshama. They can only be when the neshama is in the guf. Which means marry. The world wasn't created to be desolate, but to be populated. And that's one of the other days they didn't have children. One is they didn't marry, didn't have children. They weren't engaged in that. They didn't marry, didn't have children. It's not a whole series of transgressions. Another one. It's one that could of disengagement. And it's all implied in the pasuk. In the words, "Bekorvosem lifnei Havai." This is what the pasuk says. Vayidaber, Rabbi Moishe, Acharei Moishe ben Yair. David spoke to Moishe after the death of the two children of Aaron. Bekorvosem lifnei Havai v'yamus. They drew near to God and expired, and he said, "Daber el Aaron achicho." Speak to Aaron, your brother, v'yov b'chal Yisrael hakodesh. And one should not come at all times into the holy of holies. Bezois yavi Aaron al hakodesh. With this he shall come. Simple pshat bezis is in the avodah of Yom Kippur. But what is bezois? Bezois daike the koil al yiras Hashem. The word zeh, zois, goes on fear of Hashem, which is shuv. Do taral al ilah. This is the gate to heaven. Said the Zohar. That is what yiras Hashem. Bittul. That's the bezois. And the shalachlis in ayir va bittul dafke. David tells Moishe to tell Aaron the avodah has to be with the true year and bittul. That's how the rotzui has to be. Yerosei kedem chachma says the Mishnah says that he whose year precedes his chachma, the chachma will endure, and if not, the chachma will not endure. Pirkei Avos. The bittul has to be before the Chachma, which is the Gila Velikos. V'os tiyah k'nisa l'kodesh. Just as a word, Chachma is also bittul. But the bittul of Chachma is the Rotzoi, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I want to get smaller. I want to get smaller. The bittul of Malchus is a true bittul. That's Yirat Hatah. Not the bittul is my desire for bittul, but the bittul because that's the Rotzon Elyon. So then you take enter in the Kodesh Pnima, but Ba'ifin Shia Gama Yitzia B'Sholem. He leaves B'Sholem Daiker, and we said before that B'Sholem Mishul Kli Machzik Bracha. This is the keli that contains the Eibish's bracha. Bracha means hamshocha. Li is hamshocha l'mayla l'mata dafka. That the kavan is not down liyah, but ultimately the hamshocha l'mata. What do we see when the Kohen Gadol entered the Yom Kippur and Lefnai Lifnim and he came out? What did he say? You would think that what would be his tefillah? He would be able to speak even. You'd think he would come out of the Kedesh HaKadoshim. He's silent, and they got to kind of bring him back to earth. It's a very good thing. If you remember from the tefillah of Yom Kippur, it's from the Mishnah. We spoke about Parnasa and about miscarriages, and that rain shouldn't disturb the travelers. Parnasa Gashmi, that's what the words that he came out with, that he spoke, and he came out of word of Kedesh HaKadoshim. Is it something else? No, because that's what he saw and the experience in the Fnai V'Lifnim, the Kavanah of Yoina, the level Adam Lamata, or the Ponim of the Adam Lamata is in the Maimel Yonim in the deepest way. Down here in this world, Panosagash.
Question.
Yeah.
So to sum up, can we take from this that our kavanah needs to be etzem and not galuyim, because galuyim is self-serving, and etzem is what it's really all about.
It's everything. It's therefore shlichus, therefore engage. Everything. It's everything. Everything that is real and true. Yeah.
So on that point, you say that.
Yeah.
It's not like there's an Vayidaber, it's just the way the etzem, and that includes the Ratzah, that includes the Shuv, and that.
That's correct.
You can't do one with the kavanah of the other. They coexist.
It's one kavanah, but it needs, yeah, true. But there has to be moments of Ratzah and moments of Shuv. There's avodas tefillah and davening, but that has to be, in other words.
But the underlying kavanah is.
Yeah. In other words, there has to be the moments when, and if it's only going to be Shuv, only. Okay, you heard once. Imagine that just this. Listen here. The avodah is Shuv, lamata, and gamanu, and that's the rest of your life. Then what's going to end up happening is going to be get lost in the Shuv, in the avodah, in the gashmius, and then forget that it's even a kavanah, and just become part of the problem, and slip. So there has to be this constant transcendence in the sense of stepping back. What is this all for? Why is this here? Because the Eibishter desires it. So it has to be this for this gashmis. You're not engaged right now in the show. He's being misbinding and davening, fabrengen, and there's moments of, but what's it all? In order to, when he comes back, he comes back as he should. So on the clock and the experience, they're different externally. This is a transcendent moment, and here he's engaged in the world with to tell you what it means out there, and involved in the nitty gritty of shlichus. Each one of their shlichus, family and business and engagement, etc. And when you're doing that, you're completely consumed in that. But for that to be, it should occupy you. If that's where they should be, it has to be the frequent engagement to reconnect to what's it all for. So you have to daven, stop. This is even true as we're learning now in Tanya, in the Medat Torah. Same model. Limit Torah. From time to time, a person has to stop. Who's Torah? What am I learning? It also can be self-serving. In Limit Torah, go for. Has to be this abundance. It's the nice Torah, the kavanah. So there has to be moments of neshama mamish, all in order for. The symbol is at the end of Shabbos, a whole Shabbos. Shabbos is transcendence. So then you fill up, and what's Havdalah? You fill the cup higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, till dafka what? It spills over into the plate below. That's the culmination of the whole Shabbos. And the Vayidaber. Vayidaber is so disconnected that we don't even eat the minhag Chabad. It's pure neshama. And what it is the Mayim El Yonim there, the Kavan El Yonim Kaleh, Mayim Ponim El Ponim. And therefore, how does it culminate that the wine's dafka because of the height? Why does it spill below the cup? Because you went to the very top and spilled over. So touching the Pnimis, the Kavan El Yonim, it will naturally come down when he comes out of Shabbos inspired to engage the week. And he has a Lava Malka, which is the bridge. Al Tira of the Yaakov. He goes from Yisrael to Yaakov. Yeah, the Kiddush is the Nichnas B'Sholem and the Havdalah is the Yotze B'Sholem. So it just occurs to me now. Wait, one second, I'm going to forget this. Wait, 1 second, Chaim. You see the Nichnas B'Sholem, Pashtas of Bagashim, when he says the Eishes Chayil, Friday night, after whole. So the Eishes Chayil, of course, is talking about Malchus, there's a Shechina and all the darkest there. But Gorim Pashtas, he appreciates the Shabbos table and his wife and everything that she put into, and that's uppermost and integral to his Kiddush, is his Eishes Chayil. His responsibility as a husband and the gift that he has his wife and children and the appreciation of his children. That's right there in his Kiddush. And then he'll have a true Havdalah and a true week. Yeah, Chaim.
Is it to say that the Ava and the Yira, which is mandatory for the Torah and mitzvahs, is only to get you to a higher shuv? Is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Indeed. Should we go further a little bit? It's. We can go a few lines. Let's make progress into the Rebbe's kapitel. Yes, friend. This is a big thing.
There's a mashal. There's a mashal. Perhaps that you'll say it's right if it's right or wrong. Like a person swims, he takes one stroke ahead, crawl, and then another stroke. So his other hand goes backwards. So the going forward in the stride is helping him for the next shuv, and the ratzu of the front crawl on the right side is the beginning, or the focus to go further and further in the shuv.
Yeah, I mean, the Ava Vayir, the two sides. Yeah, the wings of the bird, or you say the arms of the swimmer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should go further or not? Just to start let's just begin it. Yes, the
sure.
So this was a big thing, friends. That the Rebbe in the Maimon was connected. In later years, this was much more common, and the letters that Rebbe would send for Pesach would be connected to the kapitel. At the end, he would connect it to the kapitel of his years. So not for now. So this is kapitel Samach Aleph. The Rebbe was turning 60, so he's now in his 61st year. So it begins with Miktzei Yoretz Lecha Ekra, from the edge of the earth to you I call. Yeshev Olam Lifnei Elikim. He, simple pshat is, he sits forever before God, before the Eibishter. So he spoke earlier about the edges, the highest edge, extreme, the lowest extreme, and even the mata, high, the Ktsei, and below the edge and above the edge. That's what's spoken about here. The edge of the earth means the lowest. It's from here that Eilecha Ekra. That from the lowest. The lowest edge of this physical corporeal world, it's from there that I call you. This is the Rotze in its purest and absolute way. I call it upon you. You, not defining the you. The koi ala atzmos. This is atzmos. This is the ma'im el yonim mamish. As we learned in previous Mamar, the Rebbe explains, that Abish is near to all whenever we call upon him, and the different Pirushim of the Bash Shem Tev and the Pardes, the Alter Rebbe, him and not to his attributes, which means the Giloyim, She'elav Koil Allah Atzmos. Elav refers to Atzmos, Medug Bas Chibur Beis Aktzavish Binyan HaSholem. And this is the Sholem that here the Yid Lamata is calling on who? On Atzmos, from the Mata, the fusion of the two extremes. He continues the pasuk, which will continue Be'ezer Hashem next time we learn, which will be when? Monday.